Hello and welcome to episode 61 of the Rollo and Slappy Show. Today is October 16th, 2017. I am Rollo McFlugel, and with me is Slappy Jones 2, and we are both of McFlugel.com. The show notes page for this episode is McFlugel.com/61, where you'll find a lot of links to some related episodes and links for this particular episode, as well as other ways you can keep in touch with us on social media. So with that, I'm going to hand it right over to Slappy, and he's going to introduce our topic for this episode.
Thanks, Rollo. Thanks, everyone, for listening to us today. Today's topic is based on a Twitter conversation I had over the weekend talking to a socialist. Twitter, it's funny. We all kind of complain and joke about it, the echo chamber, or you'll make a comment and all your quote enemies will come attack you and all your friends will come to your side and support everything you're saying, and you kind of go back and forth and get nowhere. But I think it's useful because when people do respond sincerely, you get kind of an insight into the way they think. And so this particular discussion had something to do with roads, believe it or not, and how it would work in a free society. And at one point I made the comment, all I'm saying, this is a quote, all I'm saying is that everything should be voluntary, end quote. And I had a response by someone who says, quote, that's completely incompatible with reality outside of a socialist system that provides all basic necessities. So I thought that was kind of funny. Outside of a socialist system that provides all basic necessities, it's incompatible with reality to do everything voluntarily. So, Rollo, I'm going to pass it to you for your thoughts. And what do you think? Is it completely incompatible with reality to have voluntary transactions?
No. And if it were,
surprising answer.
Yeah, if it were, I don't think I'd be a libertarian.
Sorry for that noise. If you can hear that, I have helicopters flying over my house.
They finally figure out where you are?
Yeah, they haven't got me with the spotlight yet.
Yeah. So if there's
anyway, sorry to interrupt. That's very annoying. Anyway, so you don't believe that, huh?
Right.
Okay, so thank you everyone for listening. No. What I was saying in my intro is it kind of gives you an insight into their mind a little bit, because what is he talking about? Unless a socialist system provides basic necessities, things can't be voluntary. So I thought about it, and this is kind of obvious if you ever talk to these socialists. But what they're saying is they don't want to go to work in the morning, therefore it's not voluntary. They're forced to, otherwise they starve. And he's saying unless a socialist system provides all these basic necessities, you can't do everything voluntary. So my first question to him, or to you, Rollo, is why can't a socialist system provide basic necessities voluntarily?
Well, because they're not actually providing anything. They're taking resources and wealth from others and just redistributing it artificially to other people. So it's kind of it's begging the question that a socialist society is actually creating anything.
Right. I think it's interesting that he says outside of a socialist system that provides basic necessities. Well, what does that mean? What do you mean a socialist system? Is this socialist system something, if I dig a little bit, I'll find one? No, yeah. A socialist system is a bunch of people. And these people are being coerced and doing things involuntarily against their will to provide for other people. They're using other people for their own gains. So by what he's saying, you can't have a voluntary society with a socialist system. It's not possible.
Exactly. And like I said, I mean, they're not creating anything. So all they're doing is they're just taking over what other people would be doing. So if we didn't have a socialist government or society, whatever you want to call it, that's apparently providing these necessities, and states do try to do this. We have the roads, and they'll provide sometimes they'll try to provide food and shelter, and we always see how that goes. We could see the Soviet bread lines. But what happens when you take, like, if the state stopped providing, say the state was in charge of providing food, and all of a sudden the state said, we're not going to provide it anymore, would people just sit there scratching their heads saying, well, I guess we're not going to eat now? No, I mean, the basic necessities of a society are just that, the basic necessities, the things that you need to make sure are taken care of so that you can pursue other things like food, clothing, shelter, some infrastructure, access to water, having your rights preserved. So if the state weren't doing it, these extremely important things, then you don't think there'd be a market for it, that people wouldn't see a profit opportunity there?
I also think it's convenient. It's kind of like a euphemism to say the state is providing it. That sounds much easier. Who wouldn't be against someone providing all your food and shelter, roads, everything for you so that you could pursue whatever you feel like pursuing? When you say the state is providing, that doesn't sound so bad. And it makes the, what's the word I'm looking for? The stereotype of the conservative or the libertarian to be like, you hate the poor and everyone for themselves if you say you're against the state providing, because it's like, what, the state is giving you this gift and you're not taking it. But in reality, it's people out there growing farmers growing food and having to give a percentage of their work on their land to someone else, and it's taken by force. And so when you talk about what the state actually is, it's a little less appealing than just saying the state provides. Because like you said earlier, the state can't provide. The state can only take, and they take it with violence, with guns.
Well, and I think that if you, and this goes to not just the avowed socialist, but anyone who believes that there should be a state doing anything, I mean, it has to be justified. So whether it's Mr. Full-blown socialist or even a minarchist, they're only advocating for things that they think are absolutely necessary. I mean, why would they say, like, why would a minarchist say, you know what, I really believe that the market could provide adequate security measures. So, but you know what, I just, why not just have the state do it? Who really cares? No, they think that the market can't do it, that it's inadequate for whatever reason. So that's what they advocate for. So and that's why I think people have that kind of emotional response. Not so much the minarchists, because they're used to say that the state doesn't need to provide a lot of things, but just take your average everyday person who thinks that the state needs to provide a lot of regulation and roads and all this other stuff. I mean, you're kind of rocking their world that they believe that the state needs to be here, that we wouldn't be able to function in society without it. So of course they're going to say that the market can't provide for some basic,
of course,
right?
Or it's just the market is inefficient at doing it, or something.
But also, and then you look at it a different way. What are the basic necessities? I think we can generally agree on
cell phones,
yeah, or healthcare, health insurance, tractors. That was actually like my one and only note I wrote for this episode.
Tractors.
Yeah, tractors.
You got it in.
I did.
No, but really, food, clothes, shelter, water. I don't know.
But people do have these add-ons. Like, people are saying that the internet's a basic.
Right. Well, that's why I threw cell phones in there.
Right.
I kind of threw it in as a joke, but not really.
Well, the state started to provide that now. And
really, a lot of people can't even imagine, and we're talking about people who are 18, 19, 20 years old, probably can't even imagine life without a cell phone. I mean, it's hard to for me, even though most of my life I haven't had one.
Right.
So it's becoming a necessity. Yeah.
Right. It's right. It's a necessity for life today. But is it
but not for human survival?
Right. But I mean, who wants to live in a society or live in a state where you're just living off the base? You can eat, you're not starving to death. You're not getting rained on at night, and I guess you're not freezing cold with the amount of clothes you have. So there's obvious obvious reasons to want all these things provided.
Right.
But if we can all identify these things that we really, really want or really, really need, then I think it's kind of absurd to say that people wouldn't figure out a way to
do it.
Provide it. Right. Especially because what other people are okay with allowing the market to provide, a lot of it's just kind of the fluff. I don't want to call it fluff necessarily. That's kind of unfair, but the things that we don't actually need for human survival, it's all of the luxuries and everything that, oh, well, the market, we'll allow the market to provide that because that's really not that necessary. So if it can provide things that aren't necessary and do it pretty well, I think most people, I think if someone buys a a Lexus or a BMW or another expensive kind of car, I don't think most people are unhappy with those purchases, because if a lot of people were, they wouldn't go out and spend all that money on them.
Right.
So if you can trust the market to provide these luxury items, then why in the world do you not think they wouldn't be able to provide things that are much more important?
Basic necessities. But then we can look at, and we can look at pretty much any country on the planet, and see where you would rather live or where you would rather be poor. If you had a choice, when we talk about Rawls' original position, but you're starting life and you have to pick a country to live in and be poor, what would it be? It might not be the United States. I don't know. I don't know what every society is, but I'll bet you it wouldn't be the Soviet Union or Cuba or Venezuela.
Why not?
Because they're not providing those basic needs for people. Those needs aren't there.
I mean, there were like bread lines in the Soviet Union.
Right. They don't even have toilet paper in Venezuela. I mean, it's pretty sad. I mean,
right.
We laugh, but we're not allowed to joke about things, and this is certainly one of those things we shouldn't be joking about.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, well, just look at health insurance and healthcare now in our own country, where the states has taken over. It's
totally has, yeah.
It's taken it over a while ago.
Well, it's not even insurance, yeah.
Right. It's a lot worse right now with how much it's controlling it, and no one's happy with it.
Right.
So I mean, that should kind of be a signal that, oh, hey, maybe the things the state gets its hands all over doesn't very. I mean, look at Uber and Lyft. How much people talk about getting a taxi cab. That was like, oh, it's going to smell bad, and it's no one. I never remember hearing people talk about great stories about a taxi, or even just telling stories where they mention like, oh, and I got my taxi. Now it's just like Uber, getting an Uber or a Lyft. It's like how it's a Kleenex is referred to as a tissue, and people talk about their Uber rides as a pleasant part of their story.
Right.
You never had that, or never had that positive experience with the taxis because the state manages it. So
anyway, I'm going to kind of maybe change the topic a little bit and totally catch you off guard because we didn't talk about this before the show. But in my discussion with these people, well, do
you know I didn't see this because I actually I set a notification to get
a feel for the conversation?
No. I set a notification from Twitter that every time you tweeted that it would send me a notification.
Oh, good. So maybe you do know.
Just because you don't normally do it a lot. So I was like, right. I'd like to see what you're talking about on Twitter.
Well, that's what I was also going to mention that in the beginning. Like, I'm rarely getting into these Twitter things. So every now and then I do. And I sometimes regret it because then you get stuck and it's like, wait, I don't want to leave it on that note. I got to respond. And then I keep responding and it's, it takes up a lot of time. But so the one person that tells me, we're going back and forth and I'm asking if her neighbors own her and if they're allowed to vote away her rights and, well, yada, yada, yada. But at one point she says, and I'm going to read this tweet. We should resist property itself, preferably with like guns. So I just asked a simple question. Do you believe you own yourself? Yeah. And she replies, yeah, your own body should definitely be your own. You're using it. So does anyone else have a right to it? No, that's part of what I oppose. Interesting.
Wait, so she said that we should resist property.
She says, I'm going to quote. Now, she was answering a question because I said,
Right.
I mean, I could go back and this is the problem with Twitter. I could go back and read them all. So I'll just shorten it and give her response. She says, no, we should resist property itself, preferably with like guns.
So it's like saying using guns
to take property, I guess. We should resist property itself with like guns. So I don't know if she's talking about actual guns or just things that are sort of like guns, but she says resist property itself, preferably with like guns.
Okay, so guns wouldn't be property though?
I don't know. I don't know where she's going. So I went to a simple one and said, do you believe you own yourself?
Right. I was getting hung up on what shouldn't have something not your point.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So do you believe you own yourself? Yes, you own your body. You should definitely be your own. You're using it, which is funny. She defines ownership as you're using it. So does anyone else have a right to it? No, that's part of what I oppose. Yes, she's an avowed communist, actually. So there's kind of a contradiction there, would you say?
Yeah, I would say so.
So how are you going to provide these? I get the point I'm trying to get at is how are you going to have these needs provided for you without using other people's bodies for those ends?
There's a magic wizard that waves a magic wand and it is.
And it just happens. So then it becomes, so I get it. So you just call it government, then it becomes something else.
Exactly.
Or the state or whatever. I got you.
No, I mean, that is, in all seriousness.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, what are you talking about?
I mean, that is their
oversight. Contradicted herself in her own 4 tweets there.
Right. I try to understand, because I've read Marx, and
same.
You know, he actually does, at least from what I've read, understand how wealth is created and what capitalism is. And then he just kind of cuts the wheel and says, well, we shouldn't be that, structure society that way. It should be the workers and the bourgeois is bad or whatever, or the bourgeoisie is bad or whatever. But like, I don't think even most socialists or Marxists even understand those points. Like if you put up Marxist writings on what capitalism is and how wealth is created, the people reading it would be like, oh, it's some jerk idiot, selfish capitalist wrote that. They would never think it was Marx.
Well, and didn't Marx argue that capitalism is the most productive society?
I think he did.
And he said it would get so productive that people wouldn't be working or something, which we kind of hear now. Like everything's going to be artificial intelligence and there's going to be no jobs. So we're going to be so productive that there'd be so many people not able to do anything.
That's kind of the new, like, I don't even know what to call.
But didn't Marx argue that capitalism would be so productive that things would have to be redistributed? I mean,
I don't know.
It's been a while since I read him, but that was always my understanding of what he thought, and that's why he didn't believe. And I could be wrong. Again, I'm not a Marx expert, but the way I understand it was he didn't even believe we needed like a violent revolution because it would just happen eventually. Because capitalism would be so productive that everything would have to be redistributed. Essentially, it would end scarcity. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's like there's a lot of people that are into like the robots and technology doing everything, and we just need to audit, like, without understanding. It's funny because they do believe that there's a way to be extremely productive by kind of, I guess, I don't even want to know if they consider capitalism, but just with technology improving efficiency and everything. But then there's like no understanding of how that actually happens. So it's like, oh, well, let this person keep all the money from innovating. It's like, well, no, I don't know.
Well, the other thing too, if you like took our society today and talked about how much food we have and the clothes and everything we have today, the cars, and you went back in time to 1600s and said there will be time where we have X, no one would believe you. No one would think it's possible. And they'd say that's science fiction. It would never happen. You're crazy.
Right.
Because society, like today, most people would say we don't have a perfect world. Like there's still people hungry and not everyone has food. But if you go back just 40 years ago, they thought we were going to run out of food with the population boom.
Well, it's funny. I was talking to someone yesterday. I had a cell phone out showing him a video on my cell phone, and he said it's funny because when I was your age, man, to imagine just being able to pull up a video from a little thing in your pocket, people, that's Star Trek stuff. That'll never happen.
Right. And so the point of bringing that up is that not that long ago, people didn't even realize the things we would have. Now you look at how many jobs cell phones have created that nobody thought was even a potential job just 20 years ago, really. I mean, 1997, no one could envision a touchscreen on an iPhone. Right. Now you have people working full-time on all kinds of computer applications that are exclusively for cell phones. These weren't even potential jobs in 1997. No one thought that in 20 years people would be doing that. And so just imagine what we'll have in 20 years from now, assuming we continue to progress.
No, but we should just have the state focus on providing the.
We should just be happy with where we are.
Just the basic necessities. So we don't ever.
And the good thing is the state will do it. The state will do it, so there will be no coercion.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the argument. So,
nature is so oppressive.
Yes, nature's oppressive. Since if we were here, we would have nothing. But see, that's what the cavemen should have done. Is they should have said, we have socialism. Then they would have had their basic necessities provided for them by their socialism.
That's true.
So, I kind of blame them.
I'm going to do that in my house. I'm just going to be like,
That's a great idea.
Yeah. I'll just be like, I don't know. It's something that I really want or need.
I'm going to,
food. I don't want to go food shopping anymore. I'm just going to say, I declare socialism here and my basic needs, including food, will be met.
No, I want my mortgage paid. And so I'm just going to have a socialist system in my house.
That's true. I'll do that.
Yeah.
I declare socialism on my mortgage.
Yeah. No, that's met. All right.
What's next?
Yeah. Well, I don't need anything else. That's all I really need. I can buy my food. I'm okay with that. I'm not saying all work is bad or creating things. I mean, there's things we want to do that we like and we want to make money from doing that.
Okay. So you think there's some things that the market should actually provide?
Yeah. I just think my socialist system should provide my mortgage payment.
Okay. I think that's pretty reasonable. We're not trying to socialize everything. I mean,
right. We're pragmatic.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of government.
Yep.
So anyway, I think we made our point. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Nope.
Do you have a free market story?
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
So I've recently, or in the process of purchasing some more life insurance, and because I plan on dying soon. Not really, but so part of the life insurance.
Well, just for the record, there's a 2-year contestability clause, suicide clause.
Right. Well, I mean, soon as in not
2 years in a day.
Basically.
Okay. This is recorded. What's this date?
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like people are going to go back in October 17th, 2019. Hopefully, I think people are.
Oh, people will be listening to this forever. So don't you worry.
Good. So part of the process with the underwriting is to make sure that you're kind of healthy, or that they understand what your health status is, so that they give you an adequate policy based on that.
Yeah, put you in the right risk pool.
Right. So they want to weigh me, measure my height, and have me answer some questions and draw some blood and some urine. And so, normally you go to the doctors for that, but they set up a nurse to call me up and schedule it that she came right to my house when it was convenient for me. It was in the evening, so it was, well after I got home from work, didn't have to worry about missing any time at work. And she came over, did what she had to do, and left. And she was also very pleasant and nice, and everything worked out fine. So I didn't have to pay for any of that. That was all provided by the insurance. And I know you could say it's built into the policies, but if I decide that I don't want it, or they decide they don't want it, then
They still paid for it.
Right. Say no, thank you, and that's it. But it's in their best interest that they find out how my health is. And like you were mentioning before we got started, that there's sometimes that people find out major health issues from taking the little examination that they do.
Yep.
Looks like the former Philadelphia Eagles long snapper John Dorenbos got traded, and during his physical, they found out he had cancer. So,
yeah, I mean, it's a good thing he got traded.
Yeah.
For everyone, and that happens in the insurance industry from time to time. People get their blood work back and find their blood sugar was high, and they're able to get their maybe they're pre-diabetic or whatever. They're able to see a doctor and get it under control. Well, otherwise, they would not have been able to, or they would not have known. There's no way for them to know. But what did you have anything else to add on that? Didn't you have another point you were going to make? Or am I imagining that?
I mean, probably was going to bring up tractors again.
Okay. And how if you get run over by it, you're covered?
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean.
Yeah, but anyway, what I would add to it in the insurance world, and as ANCAPs often talk about how insurance could help regulate the market. Say you get your blood work and urine done, and they find out you're a smoker because there's nicotine in your urine, and your blood sugar's high, so you're pre-diabetic. Your rates are going to be higher because you're an increased risk. So they're going to charge you more for your insurance. Now, that doesn't seem very fair, does it? But it is what it is. You're a greater risk to them to get the right premium for everyone, which is actually lower than your actual risk because you're still spreading it with other similar people. If you were to handle that yourself, it would be very expensive. But I
think it's fair.
Well, no, I'm saying, but people,
I know. No, I'm saying because I think it's fair because I don't want to have to pay for.
So I mean, you
pay more for things that I'm not doing. I mean, there's a reason I try to keep myself pretty healthy and
right. You're leveraging your dollars. Like say you had $1 million life insurance policy and it costs you $1,000 a year or $2,000, whatever $1,000 it's going to be. It's usually cheaper to insure that than to either try to save up that kind of money or, whatever. Right. I mean, you're going to have to leave that if you were to pass away to your next of kin or whatever's in your will. But what does that do? Say you come back with your exam and they find you're overweight, or like I said, your blood sugar's high, or there's nicotine in your urine. It now encourages you to bring down your blood sugar and to stop smoking so that you can apply for insurance in the future and maybe replace your old policy to get lower rates. So it kind of regulates the health in that sense. Now, with our current health insurance, we're talking life insurance, but now we're switching gears to health insurance where everything's always covered and you have to pay certain amounts. There's, I know I never did an exam, but I also have a group policy from work, which I think most people get. So it's just based strictly on age. It encourages you to be less healthy because the incentive there isn't to take care of yourself. The incentive is to use a system as much as you want. You won't pay more. You have a deductible. You don't pay anything above it. And so you might as well use it as often as you can.
Yep.
So they're trying to do things like do preventative care and offer incentives to do more preventative stuff. But whenever the government tweaks with anything and makes mandates, it makes it worse.
Absolutely.
So that's all I have.
Yep. It's funny. We said before we went on, well, let's keep this one kind of short. We've been having a lot of them been like a half hour longer, and we just hit the half hour mark.
Oh, well.
But hey, as long as we're talking and not having awkward silence.
We're talking about tractors.
Right.
But the socialists will bring it out of me every now and then. It just makes no sense. As socialists, nothing can be voluntary unless there's a socialist system. Social system is explicitly not voluntary.
Well, if you don't like it, you can leave.
Can you, though? I don't think you can.
Well,
and that's another.
It's the social contract, though.
That's right. We did sign that.
Yeah.
Forgot about that. I always forget that I signed that.
I know. Well, it's there.
The good thing is it's in writing, so I could go look it up and see what I agreed to whenever I want.
Right. Well, just the fact that you're participating in society.
Right. And a contract you can't opt out of is reasonable, right?
Obviously.
It would be upheld in any court.
Yeah.
Good. So that's good. We got that down.
So before we go off on another 20-minute tangent.
Yeah. Maybe we'll talk social contract next week. We did that before, right?
I think so. And we're on a lot of episodes now. It was actually nice. I was going through writing the show notes page and putting together some related episodes, and I got 3 of them up there.
Oh, getting some under our belt. Maybe we need to talk about more topics.
No, they're kind of different, but it matches up well. So
good.
With that in mind, since I'm talking about the show notes page for this episode is mcflugel.com/61, where you'll find some helpful links. I also have some links to some other, mostly videos, for some basic stuff about libertarianism that I think could help you if you're kind of new or talking to people who are new to libertarianism and just trying to get them in the right paradigm and frame of mind. And also there's links to find us on social media like Facebook, Twitter. We're on Gab. And also subscribe to this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes. And finally, and also very importantly, sign up for our email newsletter. We'll keep you up to date on everything that we're doing. So with that, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next week.
Peace.